Hi, Barking Atheist. You left me a little comment on your video where you say you worked on a congressional campaign and used this to sort of express how you're a political expert. So please tell me how making phone calls asking people to, vote or donate money to a candidate made you a political expert. Please tell me what insight you gained by potentially registering people to vote. Or helping register people to vote, rather. What political insight did you gain from ringing someone's doorbell and reading off the script, and then before you finish the first sentence, having the door slammed in your face? Could you please explain to me how, doing the most intellectually tasking task I've ever had to do when I worked on a campaign, affected your political insight? I mean, getting coffee was such a difficult task. I gained so much insight off of that. It really impacts your view on Colombian foreign policy. Oh, and you also said you're a political science major, which I have a hard time believing, but in case it's true, I thought it would be interesting for us to have a little bit of an intellectual sparring match. Since, see who's gaining the most from their education. So, yeah. But before you say yes to, say a discussion on Blog TV about the various issues in your video, how about I give you a little taste of what you would be in for?
I cannot vote for a man who is no less of a war criminal than his predecessor by, among other things, torturing people.
So, let's compare what sources we're going to be using to prove our claims on this issue. You're saying that Obama has outsourced torture in your description box, based on a Huffington Post Live video. Allow me to take an excerpt from that 26-minute-long Huffington Post Live video. It starts about the 2-minute and 42-second mark.
Under Article 3 of the UN Convention Against Torture, sending someone to another country where they may be subjected to human rights abuse is a violation of the treaty, even as ratified by the United States.
Okay.
So it's basically sending somebody to another country. It's outsourcing human rights abuse.
Right. So instead of sending them to a friendly place, so-called friendly place because of our allies, you now may go to Afghanistan and where you'll get tortured.
Well, today it would be, if you're in East Africa, you'd be sent to Mogadishu, Somalia.
Somalia, right.
We're in a prison called The Hole, run by Somali security, but paid for, we believe, by the United States. You would be subjected to a range of techniques which have not been monitored and which include human rights abuse, we believe.
Fair enough. Sarah, how do you feel when you hear something like this?
Alright, now the old guy that you're hearing talk, a guy by the name of Alfred McCoy. Basically, Alfred here is saying that Obama has, through extraordinary rendition, is now sending people overseas to be tortured, we believe. No actual facts laid out. He just says, I believe! No real concrete facts laid out, and the rest of this video is pretty much just a left-wing circle jerk. And so, here's what my source is going to be. It's Executive Order 13491, signed January 22nd, 2009, by Barack Obama, second day in office, where he ends torture. You can read it, understand it, and weep.
I cannot vote for a man who has increasingly deported undocumented immigrants.
I'm gonna link some articles from NPR, things that have reputation, as opposed to, whatever shit you found online. Obama's policies on illegal immigration are better, based on your perspective, than Romney's, by a long shot. So, really, why are you bitching too much? I mean, yeah, he's gonna have to deport people. There are people here illegally, they're breaking the law. Obama's kind of have to do something about it in terms of, enforcing the law, because, that's what the executive branch does, even though, in some cases, he really hasn't enforced the law. In the NPR article I talked about, Obama announces that if you're young and you don't have a criminal record, he's not going to deport you. Yeah. So, really, buddy, I don't know what to say to you, other than you don't pay attention. Especially considering when it comes to illegal immigration, I'm not for amnesty, I'm not for, all that stuff. Why? Because we have a massive influx of cheap labor. Guess what happens? It outcompetes the domestic labor that's not going to work for as cheap, and it kind of screws with our economy. That's the way it is.
I cannot vote for a man who continuously gives tax breaks and subsidies to big oil corporations.
Maybe if you paid attention when you worked on that congressional campaign you worked on, you know, maybe you would know what Congress does. They're the ones that, you know, write and pass laws like, you know, those tax breaks and subsidies for those oil companies. And didn't Obama try and, I don't know, get rid of them by asking you to, you know, hey, contact your senators, contact your local congressman or woman. You tell them, no, we don't want these oil subsidies. Get them to vote against this. Did people do it? No, because, you know, it involves effort, and, yeah, people don't do that stuff. And, to further slap you around and embarrass you with your own sources, the source you use about oil subsidies, doesn't talk about oil subsidies. It talks about how Obama's increased drilling. In fact, you admit this in the description box. You don't talk about oil subsidies. It's not once mentioned that Obama supports oil subsidies in the New York Times opinion piece. Yeah, really not gonna have to dive into this one too much. I mean, once again, Romney would have been worse. So, yeah, think about that stuff.
I cannot vote for a man who cares nothing for the millions of Palestinians who are living and dying under Israeli occupation.
Do you know who Benjamin or Bibi Netanyahu is? Prime Minister of Israel. Do you know what Israel is? Sovereign nation, led up by Bibi Netanyahu, you know, as their Prime Minister. What do you want Obama to do about this stuff? I mean, you know, when it comes down to it, unless he invades them and, you know, causes more of that war stuff that kills civilians, which really invading Israel, that'll do wonders for a, you know, politician. Yeah, I mean, what do you want him to do? This is so silly and stupid. This is why I told you didn't know what you're talking about, and rather than, you know, address the points I brought up about you, you sat there and strawmanned and appealed to authority to get me to go away. You know, you sat there and said I was attacking you for being younger than you. I hate to break it to you, buddy, but we're in the same age group. I think you might actually be older than me by, like, a year. You know, yeah, I voted for the first time. I'm 19. You can, that's promptly displayed on my channel how old I am. So that whole ageist stuff doesn't really work.
Anyone who wants to say that I'm helping Romney win by not voting for Obama can go fuck themselves.
You know, I could go suck my dick, but I don't understand how that would constitute an argument. I mean, by you not voting for Obama, you're helping Romney. Any which way you put it. Because it's one less vote Obama has. One less. Who did benefit from that? Romney. I mean, it's all past, obviously. Obama won. But, you know, this is things you gotta think about when you consider voting third party. You would have been way worse off if Romney got elected.
Call me a foolish idealist for wasting my vote. Call me a foolish idealist for not voting for someone who is perpetuating the war crimes of his predecessor and the economic system that does nothing but bring about inequality and suffering for the many for the benefit of the few.
You know, I don't know what your views are on economics, but I'm probably going to say they're about as misguided as your views on politics. And I'm hoping you don't agree and like the guy who's, you know, you have that modified picture of him in the background. I'm hoping, you know, fingers crossed, even though that really doesn't mean much. I mean, what do you want Obama to do? Congress kind of sucks, and it's gonna suck. He's not gonna do all the lovely things that, you know, you might want him to do, even if he was going to do these things and these were intelligent things to do. And really, when you get down to it, I mean, I don't know your stances on economics, I really can't go after you, but capitalism can, yes, if it's, you know, a laissez-faire system, can suck balls. But this is why you have regulations, this is why, you know, you have things like tax policies. And if Romney got in, guess what his tax policy was? Cut taxes 20% across the board. And guess what the Congressional Research Office found out about it? It doesn't work. Cutting taxes by a demonstrable amount will not help. It doesn't cause growth. It just grows income inequality. You know, that benefit of the few at the expense of the rich stuff. I mean, poor stuff. Think about these things. So if you're actually willing to get on a blog TV session with me, have at it. Otherwise, I don't want to hear you sitting there making political videos when you're clearly an uneducated fuck. Oh right, that when I called you that, you got a little bit butthurt. So go, you know, have your passionate speech elsewhere, and maybe when you actually grow up and live in the adult world, you know, and understand these issues, you might not have to walk away with your tail in between your legs next time. Bye-bye now.